Well, in this video I'd just like to talk about a few things. Whatever comes into my mind. It's an early morning video, very early. It's before 4 o'clock in the morning here. I woke up at 2 o'clock and couldn't get back to sleep. So I had a shower and a cold shower and got ready for making this video. Now I'll talk about something that you may find rather funny. That's the fighting that the gods do. What kind of weapons do you think they use? Lasers or something like that? No, they don't. They use the weapon that is most terrifying for people like you. That is the chainsaw. They do chainsaw combat. Now, chainsaw combat means constantly repairing your body. And some strokes can be symbolically tremendously devastating for the person. Especially the diagonal cut from here like this can be tremendous for the person's psyche. So they are trained to do this at military training school. Trained to do chainsaw combat. And of course, the better they are, the bigger the chainsaws they have. And believe it or not, they're ordinary sort of chainsaws with cylinders in them, and they're very heavy. And they're not sort of special atomic powered chainsaws or electric chainsaws or anything like that. They are chainsaws with very noisy motors, and they can be 6-cylinder chainsaws, and they can have 5 blades, all sort of so that they can give the most horrendous effect. The 5 blades splayed out are quite terrifying actually. So they do chainsaw combat. Now the other thing I wanted to talk about is the woman with the W. Because on the earth you are used to having women who they pretend to be inferior, but they actually command. Right, now are they inferior or they're not? I sustain that they are in a certain way inferior, but they actually command. Now, you see, it's incomprehensible that people should be pleading for their rights. You see, you assert your rights, you don't go around pleading for your rights. And when you are a human being, presumably, because you people always claim to be human beings, then you don't go around pleading for your rights. The women on this planet plead for their rights. And they are always being underput, according to them, by the men. Well, this is a load of rubbish. They've been commanding since the very beginning. The most powerful creature to exist in nature was Eva, who ruined half of nature immediately. And the women on this planet command actually the men with the most subtle, or rather not so subtle according to me, but you would say subtle domination. It's not only true that men rape women, you see, it's also true that women rape men, because you see, if a man is required by blackmail to have sex with a woman frequently when he doesn't want to, then that's rape. And this rape usually occurs during marriage. The wives rape their husbands, and you shouldn't be requiring your husbands to have sex with you if they do not want to. You should not have put them in a situation where they feel like they're in a cage. When they feel like they're in a cage, they don't want to have sex with you any longer. You see, the fact that is a man, normally, in the normal society, like the woman in the normal society, is not monogamous in the sense of purely having sex. The man and the woman are monogamous in the sense of having children. They can never have children with a different wife or a different husband. No, that is not permitted. The union of marriage is sacred, and that has to continue for all their lives. But the sexual act is a very light thing. It is a fun thing, and to use sex to emotionally blackmail a man is raping him, you see. And women go around raping men all the time, and they go around molesting men all the time. I mean, it's giving certain glances to men to excite them when they are, and to elude them that you are interested in them, is a kind of molestation, you see. So women do molest men, and women do actually rape men, especially in the marriage or in a long-term relationship. And I'd like to say that the real woman with the W is actually very slightly stronger than the man. She has more U-power. They are selected, you see, by the Department of Social Integration. Marriages are combined. They are analysed, and everything is taken into account, and the woman has to be very slightly more powerful than the man with her U-power. But then the man has to have very slightly more willpower than the woman. So the man can win against the woman with his willpower, you see. They even have in the Catatonic Society the Feminist League, you see, and the Masculist League, and the two buildings are side by side with appropriate symbolism in front of them. And there are laws for men that are upheld by the Masculist League, who have a kind of police force to arrest men and with them if they behave in a manner that is not dignified for men to behave in. And there is the Feminist League, who of course arrest the women who behave in a manner which is not dignified for women to behave in. And no woman is allowed to accept any money at all from a man, ever. And not in any case, no. There is an agreement once a month. The husband may take the wife to the luxury eating house, which is very, very expensive, and actually pay for everything. But of course it has also been arranged that men have a salary that is about 12% higher than the women, so that covers exactly the cost of taking their wives to the luxury eating house every month. Because it costs a good deal of money to take them there, you see. And it's simply the difference in the salaries between men and women is simply that of the cost of taking their wives to the luxury eating house. That is the agreement that the Masculist League insisted on, because they insisted that they could actually treat their wives as sort of pretty little things once a month, and that's a sort of humoristic agreement. Once a month their wives are pretty little things, and they open the door for them. All this gallantry, which women detest, real women with a W, with a capital W detest, and they pull out their chair for them, and they actually the women say a lot of stupid things. They behave like the women on the earth to a certain extent, let's say. Not actually to the extent of the women of the earth, but to a certain extent, where the woman will say a lot of stupid things while she's sitting at the table, and behave like a little girl, and that is allowed to happen once a month, but not more than that. The rest of the time, the women are proud, independent creatures. You see, the woman should be independent like a cat. It is the man that is more dependent on the wife. The man's character is more like that of a dog, you see. Whereas on the earth you have the cat men and the dog women, because the women practically are dependent on their husband's wallets, their husband's income. They will actually rent out their bodies to their own husbands in exchange for upkeep. Now, this doesn't happen on the Catatonic globes at all. Of course, Catatonic wives do obligatory have sex with their husbands, because otherwise there's something wrong with the relationship if they find their husbands disgusting. But they don't find their husbands disgusting at all, and Catatonic men are not disgusting. They are not sort of hairy creatures with grotesque forms as is seen on this planet. No, they are all very nice looking creatures, the Catatonic man. But that is because the Catatonic women do not select them for their wallets. And in fact, it is not the Catatonic women who select their husbands at all. As I said, it is organized by the Department of Social Integration, who have very clever scientists. The marriages are combined, you see, and that all works out well, because it's much better to have someone else choose you a wife because a wife has to last for all the rest of your life, than it is for you to get drunk in a pub and make that your wife. You cannot choose your wife by getting drunk in a pub. Instead, on the earth that happens. People go and get drunk in the pub and they choose their wives in that fashion. And that's the difference between the sort of corrupt women, the perverted women of the earth, and the women with a capital W in the Catatonic Society. You see, the women in the Catatonic Society do sport against men. All sports are men against women. It's very important, this. Cycling, football, tennis, whatever, it is always men challenging women. And the women win about 2/3 of the time in sport. And there is only one sport that is reserved for men only, and that is boxing, because it is forbidden to hit a woman in the nose or mouth, because it is a psychologically sensitive area. You see, it's forbidden for a woman to kick a man in the testicles, because that's very psychologically sensitive as well for the man. So, boxing is obviously a sport that women cannot do, and it's done by men. And they have a 40-foot square arena, and they stand at opposite ends, and or rather not at opposite ends. One stands in the middle in a circle. The other stands right 20 foot away from him and takes a 20-foot run up and slams him in the face with his fist. Well, that's devastating. He knocks him against the against the railing, so knocks him 20 foot. And then that man stands in the ring in the middle and waits his turn to receive an enormous punch in the face. And it carries on until one is cannot get up anymore. And it can continue for hours. And if any boxer actually manages to knock the head off another boxer, then he is the champion boxer until somebody else manages to do the same thing, because it is known that they can knock the head off another boxer, but only if they are extremely strong with their punch, because boxers have the most extremely strong necks. They exercise them with special machines all day to make sure that they resist to those punches. So anyway, that's a little bit about catatonic sport. Catatonic sport is normally men against women, except for boxing. And I told you a little bit about God sports, about God fighting. It's a lot of it is done with chainsaws. There was, of course, also the matches of sending each other to hell, which I would need another video to talk about, really, because it's quite a long discourse, because there are lots of different ways of sending a god to hell, or a goddess to hell, and it's good training, because they always have to keep their ability to save themselves, to haul themselves back up. They have to keep this ability, and to develop it. They have to be ready they have to have frequent dips in hell to get used to it. And hell is absolutely ghastly, and it's absolutely hideous, and so they have to get used to frequently having this hideous experience, just to not to be absolutely terrified of it all the time. As long as they know that they can save themselves, and they verify it all the time by fighting at sending each other to hell, then they can withstand this terror. So anyway, these are a few little details I wanted to add in this video, and that's a little bit more on the Catatonic Society and the difference between catatonic women and Catholic women. Catholic women command, you see, but the catatonic women do not command, because it is by law of nature. It is the man that commands and the woman that advises. The man should always listen to the advice of the woman, and if the man is not listening to the advice of the woman, then he will become stupid. Any man is stupid without the advice of a woman. But any woman who commands woman will make the most hideous errors. So the only cases where a woman actually is seen to be commanding is when her husband is ill, is in hospital, and she has taken his place. For example, she is the vice governor of the planet, and she has taken his place. You see, because they are always arranged in couples, husbands and wives, all people who do jobs. If you see two police people, a policeman and a policewoman walking along the street, they will be a husband and a wife. It is all organized in that way, that they work together, they spend all day together, they don't get tired of each other at all. And this is very important, that they don't get tired of each other at all, because they don't have irritating personalities, you see. They don't have invading personalities. They don't try and assault one another, you see. You people try and assault each other. You see women try and assault men, to offend them, to hurt them. They rape men on this planet. And men try and assault women by eluding them, by messing them around, etc. It's a continual assault. Whereas the catatonic people do not assault each other at all. So their company is pleasurable. So a husband and wife can work together, go home and look after their children together, and do everything together 24 hours a day without having any problems at all. And this is the real difference, you see. It does make a big difference if you are positive people. It's not a small difference to be negative people at all. It's an enormous difference. And the man, I repeat, must command always, and the woman must advise. And there are special laws, little laws, which are big laws, like the wife must never dispute the words of the husband in front of the children. If she wants to dispute his words that he is saying to the children, then she must do it in private when the children cannot hear, and they must discuss it in private. Never must she humiliate the figure of the father in front of his children. That is absolutely forbidden, because the father is such an important personality in the house, and he is the chief educator of the children. And the wife educates as well, of course, but they organize it together. You see, they discuss it. You see, it's not that, you see, on the catatonic planets, it's not that the woman irons and does things like that, because they simply have a machine. You throw the clothes in and they come out perfectly ironed, perfectly ready. They have actually bothered to invent the ironing machine, which hasn't happened on the earth at all. And so the woman is not any kind of domestic slave ever, and it is forbidden to have domestic slaves, really, at all. You could only have machines as domestic slaves. You can't have actual people being domestic slaves, and or domestic servants or domestic helpers. No, you can't have that at all in a catatonic society. You have, you can hire people to help you on special occasions, yes, but they are paid well. You have to pay them well, yes. And the whole society is completely structured according to a elaborate set of rules. So anyway, I wanted to say the real woman is the most beautiful thing created in nature. And it was Eva that made the woman seem like the most monstrous creature in nature. And all women, real women, all the catatonic women, want to make up for that. So they have their feminist league, not to complain about their condition, no, because they know how to assert themselves, but to make sure that all women uphold the image of the woman in nature. And the Masculist League is more or less is to balance that, is to make sure that all men uphold the image of the man in nature, because the way that men behave on the earth is not tolerable. It is disgusting, and it should never be seen in nature. So they make sure that men behave in a decent way